Howdy, Vine Trippers. I wanted to take just a moment to talk to you about the Texas Wine Lover website and their phone app for both iPhones as well as Google devices. You can actually download this app, put it on your phone, or just go to the website if you're not an app person. And if you ever want to go visit some of these great locations that we've been talking about in the podcast, this will give you a great information about the place before you go. And you'll be able to find other wineries in the area. So if you want to make a day of it, go see several other places as well. You can search by region. You can sort the listings, find ones that are kid-friendly, family-friendly, even ones that host RVs. All kinds of different sortable listings you can find there in that app and on the website. You can find other things as well in the area like restaurants, accommodations, maybe events that are going on at the different wineries. So it's your one-stop resource that goes hand in hand with this podcast to be able to find those great places to go visit. So check out the Texas Wine Lover website. It's txwinelover.com. Or go to their app. You can find it on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store as well. Enjoy your trips among the vines and use that app. Welcome to Texas Under Vine, an exploratory podcast to scout out the best that Texas wine country has to offer. I'm your wine guide, Scott, and I'm here to lead you on an auditory expedition to the vineyards and wineries across the great Lone Star State. Each episode will cover a different vineyard, winery, or wine-related business operating in Texas. You'll hear interviews, descriptions, and details about each location that will excite you to visit and experience them for yourself. Ready to plan a wine tour? Use these episodes to choose the most interesting spots for you and your friends to check out. Most of all, enjoy hearing about the rapidly growing wine industry in the state and what makes our wines and wineries the best. Howdy, fellow Vine Tripper. Welcome to episode 41 of Texas Under Vine. And for today, I'm going to actually stay in the hill country. I'm going to head up a little bit north to the Lampasas area and just a little bit west of there to the town of Lometa. I'm going to be visiting Stoneledge Winery today. So I'm going to tell you all about their story. Now, the winery is owned by Greg and Deborah Gisler, and they bought the property where the winery resides now about 26 years ago. Greg had previously had a career in the telecommunications industry, and they were looking for a place to live, and so they bought that land as a place for them to retire and live on. And then he got the idea, some of his friends in the area were planting grapes and grapevines, and he thought that might be a fun idea. So in 2016, they planted their first grapevines there on their property. Now, when they started, Greg just had intentions of selling the fruit to other vineyards in the area, or other wineries, should I say. Now, when they started the vineyard, Greg actually had the idea of really just selling the grapes to other wineries. But some people advised him and said, you know what, you can make more money if you actually make some wine from your grapes and have a winery. So they decided to do that. And in 2017 began that process. Now, they didn't open their doors until 2019. So they've been running for about 5 years straight now. Now, not long after they started, Texas Monthly actually gave them some awards for one of their very first wines, a rosé of Sangiovese. And in that article, they named Stoneledge Winery as one of the upcoming wineries at that time. Now, the vineyard that they have on site is beautiful. It's about 11 acres, and they have planted some things like Roussanne, Sangiovese, Tempranillo, Mourvedre, and Cab Sauvignon, among a few others. And they do pride themselves on being 100% Texas wine. And actually, for the last 2 years, they've been completely self-sustaining with all of the fruit that they're growing to make all of the wines that they have. They haven't bought grapes from anywhere else for the last 2 years. And the winery itself is kind of built old world style in that it's built into the side of a hill and it's got 3 different levels to it. So what that does is that allows them to bring the fruit in at the top level where they can do the crushing, getting all the juice out and getting ready to go. And they allow gravity to take it down. Instead of having to use pumps, they can actually use gravity to bring it down and throughout several stages of the process until it ends at the very bottom level where it's also built into the hillside, so it's a little cooler in there. You can store the barrels in there. It's kind of sheltered from that scorching hot Texas sun. So it provides multiple benefits to the winery with that construction that they have. And the tasting room is actually on the top floor. Now, the area that they're in is gorgeous. It's actually built on a stone ledge where the name of the winery comes from. And it's got beautiful views of the hill country, almost 360 degrees around. And you can see the valley kind of floor. What used to be an ocean where the stone ledge was the edge of the ocean. And so you get great views. They also have an outdoor event pavilion where they'll have live music and different events out there. Because of its situation, Greg will talk about in the interview, they get great wind flow through that area. So it stays, even in the hot summer months, you get good breezes through to keep you cool. And they even have a pickleball court on site. If you're a pickleball fan, you can go play there along with horseshoes and some other fun things. Now, I thought this was really cool too. So Greg, with his computer background, his technology background, actually wrote a software program to keep track of all of the weather in the vineyard in the area where they can monitor down to water distribution. It's all this high-tech control center over the vineyard to see how much they need to water in certain places and putting that background that he has to great use in the vineyard. He is a true vineyard-owned style vineyard in that he is doing everything from the farming all the way up to the winemaking to your lips as you get to taste their amazing wines. Now, another cool thing is they're actually a dark sky community. So in addition to these gorgeous views, and they're literally right down the road from Colorado Bend Park. So out there, they sometimes bring out some astronomers with telescopes and they'll do great viewings of the night sky. So all sorts of really cool fun events that you can do here at Stoneledge and take in that beautiful view. And it's just a little bit west of Lampasas, not far at all from the main highways to be able to get out there to Stoneledge. Now, when I went to Stoneledge, I actually got to sit down with Greg for the interview, so you'll get to hear directly from him. He also gave me a tour of the property, so I got to see that whole 3-level production situation. He took me around to the areas and see the event center. He even took me out into the vineyard. It was a great time, and he really shared a lot of his background and story and their ideas for the winery. So without further ado, let's get to that interview. Well, I'm here with Greg Gisler at Stoneledge Winery. So tell me, Greg, a little bit about yourself. What got you into the wine industry?
Well, originally I was in telecommunications software.
Okay.
And we sold that business a while back. Originally, we also bought this land about 26 years ago, and so we were living out here. And then after the business was sold and started looking for things to do and ran across a neighbor to growing grapes, and it sounded like a good idea. And bought the book from Texas A&M that they put out Growing Grapes in Texas. First page says, "Don't do this as a hobby."
Whoops.
So we started with the vineyard over here, put in the vineyard in 16 and 17, and built that out. And then people said, well, you don't make any money with a vineyard. You need a winery. So we started this building 2017, and we started making wine in 2017. Before this building was even finished. Our first wine was Sangiovese Rosé, named after her granddaughter, Isabella Rosé. And Texas Monthly happened to pick it up, and they gave us some awards, and they brought us down for their big dinner and wrote an article about us, said we were one of the top new wineries coming out. So that's how we got into it.
Yeah.
And just kind of kept going from there.
How many acres do you have planted here?
We have 11 acres planted, 7 varieties, Roussan, Albarino, Sangiovese, Tempranillo, Cabernet, Syrah, and Mourvedre.
Okay.
So in the last 2 years, well, maybe a little longer than the 2 years, we've only used our grapes. We're 100% Texas grapes. When we first started, we used High Plains grapes.
Right.
And then now that it takes a while for a vineyard to start producing, now it's producing so that we can run our grapes from right here.
So you pull enough off of your estate to be able to make all of your wines here. So, so everything is estate-based.
And we built this whole winery kind of high-tech. It's 3 levels into the ground, so that it's on the north side of the hill, so that you take advantage of the cooling you need for Texas.
Yeah. Do you use like I was at a different winery that had a similar thing, that a 3-floor construction, so that they could use gravity to kind of start at the top and bring everything down with having to use a lot of pumps and things.
You can do that, yeah.
Yeah.
We set up all of the equipment out front for processing the grapes, bring them over from the vineyard. They're destemmed, crushed, and goes into their tank room down here where we put it into the tanks for fermentation.
Yeah.
And once it's fermented and pressed and ready to go for the second fermentation and ready to go down to the barrel room, there's pipes that connect to the next level down, and it goes into the barrels.
Yeah.
So
I've seen some cool documentaries about some old world wines and how they used to do that. That was a technique they used in the old world, was using gravity to move things down from place to place. So.
Yeah, it didn't have pumps.
Very old world style, yeah. So tell me about this particular location. So you've got your estate, you've got this tasting room. What else do you have here on site?
Well, we have the event center up here.
Okay.
And then there's a total of 200 acres that we have. So we designed it so that we could expand on the vineyard side of it, because you need a minimum size to really produce on a vineyard. So we're set up for that. And then we've just we're on a perfect location on this hill. The hill helps us on our vineyard because there's always a constant breeze, and the breeze is what takes the moisture off your vines, when the moisture is what causes the fungus to grow in there. So it helps us in that area too. We're in a perfect location for sunsets. We're overlooking the Colorado River Valley to the west, and so you can see great sunsets all the time. And we put in some entertainment here. We've got pickleball court, we've got horseshoes, and we've done a lot of different types of things out here with wine festivals and car shows, and we had the Texas 4000 out here a couple of years.
Yeah.
They started from here. So we're trying different things. I mean, when we first started this, I was more into I was just like building this stuff.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And
did you build this all yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then the one thing that we didn't really concentrate on was the marketing. So we finally got to that point.
Yeah, those unfortunate business things that you got to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we first started, we didn't open until beginning of 19.
Okay. Boy, right when the pandemic was about to hit.
That's right.
Ooh, perfect timing.
Perfect timing. I mean, things started out really well, and then that hit, and then we had to put in the kitchen out there so we could open up again. So we did that, and then things started picking back up again, and now after that, this next year is starting to get back to normal again.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of catching up to do, really.
Sure.
On our side.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the name of the winery, Stoneledge. How did it get its name?
Well, actually, the Stoneledge was my wife's idea because of the stone ledge all around the rims of the hills here.
Okay.
My idea was Oceanside because this was actually the edge of the ocean. And you can go out into our fields here, and it's just solid fossils. You can dig up fossils of all sorts out there.
Interesting.
So, and across the highway was the other side of the ocean, or not the ocean, that was the land with the granite.
Yeah.
It's completely different geology.
Wow. So you just got a mix of soils here.
Yeah. Yeah, we have good soil for growing. Everything's growing good.
Kind of alluvial type soil. Huh?
Yeah.
And then you talked about your fruit. So you first started off 100% Texas, but sourcing in different locations. Now everything is estate done here. Are you the not the winemaker? Are you the grower as well? Do you get out on your tractor and do all that fun stuff out there with it?
Yeah, and I'm a fix-it man. So
yeah,
take care of things.
You wear multiple hats: the engineer hat, the farmer hat, the everything.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Yeah. So you're a true vigneron type style winery here.
But we actually designed the vineyard with, if you look at it, there's 3 levels of fencing. There's the deer fencing, and at the bottom of that is 3 feet of rabbit fencing. And then you'll see 2 electric wires going around there. 2 electric wires is what it takes to keep raccoons out.
Wow.
They'll go over 1, but not 2.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. You learned all this by experience, I take in?
Well, and visiting with other people, seeing what other people were doing.
Okay.
So we designed it. I went around and looked at a lot of places as we were doing this to see what was the best way to go. That's a lot of what we saw. People left a lot of their equipment and pumps and stuff outside, and that didn't make sense because it gets totally
the elements. Yeah.
So one of the things we added was a shop to keep the equipment better and the pumps and the air and all that stuff running. And then since I was in computers, we designed systems for monitoring water saturation at 1 foot and 3 foot in the vineyard, and we can also pick up temperature, humidity, sun intensity, wind direction, all the stuff you want to kind of look at to fine tune what you're doing, because you don't want to overwater, you don't want to underwater, and then you want to make sure you got things set up for right.
Get your own weather station here to monitor all that. I love that. So what are some of you mentioned a few of the types of grapes that you had planted. What are some of the wines that you make from all of that?
Well, actually, we make individual wines we have a Sangiovese, we have an Albarino, we have a Tempranillo and Syrah.
Okay, some of those single varietals.
Yeah, all the single varietals. And then we do different kinds of blends. Our latest one is the Eclipse wine.
Oh, yeah.
Which we designed for the Eclipse coming up.
Okay.
And that's a combination of 4 wines. We've done other ones. We had, when we had the meteor shower here last summer, we did a meteor shower one, which was a blend for that. Most of our lines have won awards, so our Tempranillo just won gold at the Houston Rodeo last fall.
Congratulations.
So the year before that, we got double gold with our Sangiovese.
Well, that's a high honor right there.
And the year before that, we got platinum for our Malbec.
Wow. Do you plant Malbec here?
No.
Okay, that was one that you sourced elsewhere.
That was a High Plains.
Okay, got you. Wow, that's great. What are you, as a winemaker, since you're kind of doing some of the winemaker jobs right now, I know you and I visited a little earlier, and you had said that you had hired some winemakers in the past, but right now you're kind of between that and you're doing a lot of that. So when you put on your winemaker cap from all your other caps that you have on, what are some of your favorite wines to make?
Well, Sangiovese is a pretty good basic wine that if you go to Italy, almost all of their wine is Sangiovese mixed with something, and it grows really well here.
Okay.
So we end up with a lot of Sangiovese. We make a Sangiovese rosé and a regular Sangiovese. I think the one that turned out surprisingly well was the Mourvedre.
Yeah.
That one is really good. And it's out of our vineyard here. And we discovered that by accident because a friend of mine, his daughter was getting married, and they wanted to have some wine for the reception.
Yeah.
So they came up and did a barrel tasting, and they picked that particular wine.
Okay.
And then we tasted it, and so we bottled it all as a single varietal.
Oh, wow. So that was in honor of their wedding when it happened. I've heard good things about Mourvedre in Texas, and a lot of wineries are really kind of latching on to that, how well it's performing here in Texas.
I was really surprised because when we first planted it, it was like it was stunted. It didn't seem to be growing.
Yeah?
And then after the second year, just all of a sudden it took off.
It took off, huh? It just needed to adapt for a little bit before
I don't know
what
it needed, but it took a while.
What are some of your most popular wines with customers? So what are the ones you have a hard time keeping in stock?
A lot of the Cab, well, of course, everybody likes Cabs.
Yeah.
And now that we have we've got 4 versions of Tempranillo, and we've been running across Tempranillo fans. So Tempranillo is is kind of considered a Texas grape because they resupplied Spain when theirs disappeared.
Yeah.
I like we had the Montepulciano. That was really good.
Yeah.
That was from the high plains, but it turned out really well. I mean, it seems to change because, we come out with a new one and then you'd say, well, that is better.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Well, this is okay. Now we got another one here.
Yeah, and it could be that you just get used to one and then it's something completely different.
Yeah.
So
the variety.
Yeah, you get a little variety.
Howdy, Vine Trippers. Did you know that I now have a merchandise store for Texas Under Vine? I only have a handful of limited items, but you can go check those out and wear your Texas Under Vine swag if you'd like to tell all your friends about the great wine locations we have here in Texas and maybe get them interested in the podcast as well. So there are things like t-shirts, there's a hoodie, there's a beanie, a ball cap, things like that. But one of the most exciting things I have right now is my limited time offer t-shirt. That's my season 1 t-shirt. So this is your Tasting Through Texas Under Vine season 1 t-shirt. It's only going to be available for a little short amount of time. On the back, it has all the different locations like a band tour t-shirt. So this is a limited time item and you can go out and get it now. And one of the great things about that t-shirt is a portion of every sale goes to support the Texas Hill Country Winery Scholarship Fund. So you know that by buying that t-shirt, you're also investing in the growing and flourishing of an amazing wine industry here in Texas and all of those people that are going to come and make it even better. Check out that merchandise store. It's on my website at texasundervine.com. Just go up to the top. You'll see the link for the merchandise store. And is it mostly dry wines? Do you do sweet wines? I know you talked about a couple of white varietals, but white.
We concentrated on dry wines. I mean, that's really the way to go. But we always get people that want sweet wines. So we made a limited production of 2 sweet wines.
Okay.
A sweet Riesling and a sweet Cab, I think it was.
Okay.
That we did.
So you just have those options for those people who have the sweet tooth there.
Yeah. So we have a couple of them, but that's not a specialty.
Well, tell me a little bit about the property itself. We mentioned it a second ago, the events and activities that you put on out here. So I saw the pickleball court when I came in. We had you have the pavilion out there. And so tell me about some of those events that you've hosted here and maybe ideas of things that you'd like to see.
Oh, one of them that was a lot of fun that we decided on, this was a couple of years ago, we decided to do a Dine in the Vines. And unfortunately, the way we decided it was 10-10-20-20.
Oh, wow.
And so we wanted that
date, that number.
And of course, that was just a week later. But it turned out really well anyway. We had the caterer cooked. We set up everything in the center of the vineyard.
Okay.
And a caterer, we had a big black curtain where the caterer was cooking behind that. It was the caterer to the Queen of England that came out and did the catering.
Wow.
They're actually out of Austin. And for the cocktail hour at the beginning, we had violinists from the New York Symphony. And then for dancing afterwards, we had a 12-piece jazz band from Austin.
That's really cool.
It turned out we were
very elegant event.
Yeah, very good food, excellent food, and entertainment, and everything was good.
Out in the middle of the vine.
Yeah, and we brought a lot of antique cars out here just to show off.
Car shows and all that.
Yeah.
Are those ones that you do on a regular basis?
Well, that was just to dress up that one.
To dress up the event.
Yeah, we do the regular car show where we just have people locally that bring their cars out, and we have a good time then. We had the Model A Society brought a bunch of Model A's out once.
Wow.
So that was nice. And then we did some wine festivals where we had 11 different wineries out here.
Uh-huh.
And then vendors set up tents for different things too.
Okay. Let's think forward just a little bit here. And let's say that a listener is starting to get excited. They want to come to Stoneledge, experience what you have here. So I want to talk about a tasting, what a tasting might look like if a customer came in to do a tasting. So do you offer a flight of wines for that? Or does the customer choose the wines they want to taste? How does a tasting typically work?
Well, generally every month we pick out half a dozen wines that we want people to try out.
Okay.
And it'll start with either a white or rosé and work to the red wines.
Okay.
And so there's half a dozen wines that go into that. And we like to change it. But there's occasions where people are looking for something specific, and so we can
flexibility there.
We're flexible on that.
Okay, so someone could come in on one month and come in on the next month and have a completely different experience of tasting.
Or even the next day if they decide to pick their own.
It's the right thing. Okay, gotcha. How much does a tasting cost typically?
Our tastings are $15.
Okay. And how many tastes do they get through that?
They get 6 tastings.
6. You may have mentioned that and missed that. Do they need to make reservations or
no
walk-ins available?
No reservations.
Okay.
And generally it's we've got the capacity to hold enough people, so it's not a crowded thing at all, and it's really not that far from Austin or Georgetown or any of the other places around here. So,
and I noticed that Colorado Bend State Park is just right up the road as well. So
we're starting to get a lot of people from Colorado that are going to Colorado State Park. Yeah. So they'll stop by.
Nice. What are your operating hours?
We do Fridays 3 to 6 or 7. That'll be changing as the weather change or the
season change.
Yeah. And then Saturday and Sunday 1 to 7. So
okay. What about if people want to come out and they have kids, maybe pets, dogs, things like that? Can they bring those?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people bring their kids out and they can bring their dogs out. I mean, it's their responsibility to watch them, but other than that, we haven't had any problem with them.
Okay.
So, and it's a lot of fun for them a lot of times.
And do you have any food options here in the winery, or can people bring their own food with them?
We've done both. We have a lot of different kinds of pizzas here, charcuterie boards, and different combinations of all that stuff. It's not a huge amount, but it's all the basics.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything, like if somebody does bring kids, is there anything besides wine that the kids can have, or should people bring their own stuff for their kids?
We have sodas and water for the kids, so we have that. And a lot of times they'll bring whatever they want for their kids here.
Yeah. What about maximum group sizes? Do you have a maximum of like a tour bus pulling in or things like that, or do you like to know ahead of time for big groups?
It's nice to know that ahead of time. I mean, because then we can kind of accommodate it, because we have had parties where all of a sudden 30 people show up.
Right. You're like, you're scrambling. Okay. So if you got a big group, make sure that you're notifying you ahead of time.
That helps. I mean, we can probably accommodate it anyway, but sure, it's nice to know that's coming down the line.
And you have both, it looks like tables for seated tastings as well as maybe bar tastings, or how does that?
Yeah, they got seated tastings. We got our, this door, when the weather's nice, we open that up and there's seating out there. And of course, then when the weather gets decent again, we'll be out in the pavilion.
Yeah.
That holds 200 people out there.
Okay. So you do tastings out on the pavilion, outdoor pavilion as well?
Yeah. And it has a stage for the bands, because we have
live music?
We have live music. In fact, we'll have live music Saturday and Sunday this year, or this weekend. So,
what are your busier and slower seasons? What's the best time for somebody to come visit, do you think?
Every time.
Every time the sun comes up.
I mean, you can tell when there's like this week was spring break.
Yeah.
That kind of cuts into it because everybody went somewhere.
Everybody's traveling elsewhere, right?
Yeah, so that slows things down a little bit. And then when school gets out, then more people are coming out too, because they don't have to deal with taking their kids to school.
Okay. So you still have, even in the hot summer months, you get a decent crowd coming out with all the events and everything?
Because of it, I mean,
the indoor or the outdoor.
We got indoor and outdoor. And last summer when it was 110, we kind of gravitated more towards indoor.
Sure.
because of the air conditioning. But generally, the pavilion is an open, covered place. And since we always have a breeze coming through there, it can be 100 degrees out, and it feels comfortable in there.
Sitting under the shade, you still have that breeze coming through.
Yeah. And while you're sitting in the pavilion, on one side you got the vineyard you can see, and on the other side you got a view down the valley for the sunset.
Well, do you offer any kind of a wine club for people to join?
Oh yeah, we have wine.
What are the details on that?
It's pretty basic. Our wine club can be either 3, 6, or 12 bottle per quarter. It could be 3 bottle of winemaker's choice, a 3 bottle red, or 3 bottle white.
Okay.
Same way with the 6 and the 12. So they have the choice. And on the 3 bottle, that also gives them 4 tastings a month free.
Oh, wow, nice.
Or 4 glasses of wine free. And same way with all of the memberships. And then 3-bottle also gets a 10% discount, 6-bottle 15, and 12-bottle gets a 20% discount.
Okay. And how do people sign up for that?
They just fill out a cord.
Okay.
There's no charge for it. There's no nothing,
Yeah.
And then
So when they're coming here, they can sign up. Can they sign up online for it or just here in the winery?
they can sign up online too.
Online as well? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So let's say somebody's interested. They want to come out and taste your wines, but for whatever reason, they can't get here yet. Do you do any kind of distribution or ways? Do you sell online? Do you have ways for people who like to taste your wine without coming to this location?
Yeah, it's all available online.
All online, okay, on your website?
Yeah, and also locally at Stoney's Liquor Store.
Okay, that's local to what area?
Lampasas.
Oh, Dade Lampasas as well, okay.
Yeah, see, that's part of the marketing we're working to.
Yeah, that's the distribution part. Almost every vineyard and winery in Texas is trying to figure out distribution. It's one of the hardest things.
Just figuring out the marketing, and I think we're finally moving on some good areas that way now finally. So that's going to help.
So, do you have any plans for future growth?
Well, the part of what we might grow would be expanding on the vineyard.
Okay.
But it all depends. You've got to first develop the marketing that creates the sales, that creates the demand that we should actually do that.
The cycle.
Yeah, the whole cycle. I mean, we can right now we're set up, we can produce quite a bit already without doing that.
Okay.
So we're working now just to catch that part up.
Yeah.
And then then we'll go from there.
Once that catches up, then you can think about the expansion of the vineyard, huh?
Yeah. I mean, we've done other things here. We put in a driving range, golf driving range.
Really?
In the back. We started on it, and it's all set up except for the tee boxes. And then we just kind of let it sit there for right now. But we did that because the golf club or the golf course here in Lampasas doesn't have a driving range.
Oh, really?
And people were always asking about that. So there's a possibility there. And we've also looked at putting some cabins in. Yeah. A lot of people come out here and they would like to stay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
nice.
Different things like that we might do.
Okay. You got a lot of good ideas out there for the future.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that brings me to my final question then. So what would you say, in your opinion, is the number one thing that sets Stoneledge Winery apart that would make somebody who's listening to this say, man, I really have to get there. I want to check that place out?
Well, the one thing that virtually everybody that comes out here says is the views.
Yeah.
How quiet it is, how nice it is, how laid back. It's the getaway from the city. And, it's not the rat race at 290.
Yeah.
It's nice and quiet, comfortable. There's plenty to do.
Peaceful.
Yeah. And it's not crowded.
Well, you mentioned a moment ago, too, we were having to be talking about the eclipse or privately earlier, and you talked about the dark sky out here when it at night, and sometimes you have people come out with telescopes and all of that. Tell me a minute about that.
Yeah, we worked with the Friends of the Night Sky and we put on astronomy nights. And on the astronomy nights, they have astronomers that they actually bring out these big telescopes, so you can go from one to the next and look at Saturn or the moon or all these different things that are up there.
And that's because of this beautiful environment we have that's quiet and peaceful out here with no light pollution.
And actually, when Halley's Comet came by, we have a picture of Halley's Comet right over this building.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. If you're looking for a secluded place to get away from the big city, but it's not too far away, and you want to relax, enjoy the countryside, have a nice, great glass of wine, really tasty wine at that, then look no further than Stoneledge Winery. They're going to fit that bill for you perfectly. And it's really just a short drive west of Lampasas, which is just northwest of Austin. So not too far from the greater Austin area, if that's where you're coming from, but very easy to get to from many areas throughout Texas as well. Now, as Greg mentioned in the interview, it did used to be a vast sea millions and millions of years ago. So he showed me that if you actually walk down from the stone ledge down below a little bit to the ground there, you're going to find fossils all over the place. The calciferous soils and the limestone and all that, they're fossils. He just reached right down and picked one up as we were standing there talking because of how that used to be a sea. So if you're a student of history and you'd like to know more about some of that, another great reason to go to Stoneledge. But it isn't just the views that are great. The wines are really, really tasty. And as you're enjoying those wines, there's so many things to do here, whether you're the pickleball fan that wants to get out and play, or that event pavilion, or as Greg mentioned in an interview, they're going to have that golf driving range there set up very soon. So you could do that as well if that's what you really enjoy doing. For sure, you won't be lacking in things to do when you visit Stoneledge. Now, if you want to go, make sure you go check out their website first. It's www.stoneledge.wine. Okay, so that's STONELEDGE.WINE, stoneledge.wine. There you're going to find some information about the wines that they're making. You'll find their event calendar. You'll be able to join even their wine club on the website if you want to. And there's actually some great pictures there on the website, so you can see more of the winery before you go. Now, when you go to see them, make sure you tell them you heard about them on this podcast, Texas Under Vine. Now, after the interview wrapped up, Greg actually sat down and poured me some of his great wine, so I got to try a bunch of those. And you know what? I fell in love with that 2021 Estate Mourvèdre that he was talking about. Very, very smooth, lots of flavor in this wine, just an easy drinker, but complex as well. So give that a try when you go. Make sure you check that out. I had to make that my wine library bottle for this episode. Well, it's time for me to move on and go explore even more great wine destinations to bring you that info. Now, before I go though, would you do me a favor? If you are at all enjoying this podcast and you're being able to go to some of these great locations and experience some of these fun wineries, some of the great wines we've had out there, would you consider becoming a sponsor of the show? So it isn't free for me to produce this. I do it all out of my pocket. And so having those sponsors really helps me to travel to even more great wine destinations. And it's very simple. I actually have a Patreon site. You can go to my website at www.texasundervine.com. Go to the very top and you'll see a Become a Patron link. It will take you straight to that Patreon website. For just a few dollars a month, you could really make a difference in making this podcast go farther. And you get some extra benefits by doing it. Like one of the levels gives you some extra photos from behind the scenes. You can actually see the winery before you go. Another one, you'll get a video walkthrough tour narrated by yours truly as I walk through the winery and talk about some of the things they have there. So those kind of give you a little bit of a better feel before you can go visit. So those things, again, will give you some bonuses, and they really do make a difference in helping me bring more of this great content to you. And if you're watching or listening to this on YouTube, you can always go down, like and subscribe the video, and leave a comment. If you've been to Stoneledge Winery, tell everybody else what your favorite thing was about it there in the comments. I'd love to read those. And with that, my time is truly up. So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and follow my socials to be notified anytime a brand new episode is released. And until then, happy trails and bottoms up, y'all. Thanks for listening to Texas Under Vine. We strive to provide you with the best information about wine businesses all over Texas. Be sure to check out our website at texasundervine.com and follow us on our socials at Texas Under Vine to stay up on all the upcoming episodes. Please email us with any suggestions or feedback. Also, contact us if you're interested in donating, sponsoring, or advertising on the podcast, just to help us cover our expenses and bring even more great info to you in future episodes. Above all, travel safely, and most especially, drink responsibly. Vine Trippers, have I got a deal for you. So if you haven't checked out the Texas Wine Club yet, you have to go check it out. So you can get wine clubs at all of these different great wineries that I've talked about in the episodes. But if you can't get a chance to get to those places and you want to sample some of those various wines, this is the perfect fit for this podcast. So I've partnered with Texas Wine Club. If you go to their website, they scour the whole state. They choose great wines from all over the Texas wineries, and they put them together into packs that they ship out every quarter. You could pick out a package of 3, 6, or 9 bottles, and every quarter you can get a taste of different wineries throughout Texas without having to travel to them. So if you've wanted to taste some of the great wine I've talked about on this podcast, here's your chance without having to travel. So what you're going to want to do is go to www.texasundervine.com shop.txwine.com and pick your package that you want to try. And when you put in my code, Texas Under Vine, that's all one word, TEXASUNDERVINE, as your coupon code, you'll get $20 off your purchase. So head on over there. You can also find the link in the show notes here for this podcast. And go check out Texas Wine. They're a perfect fit with this podcast. So go drink some great wine.